Welcome everyone to the Green Endoscopy or Sustainability session in the Spotlight Studio. My name is Enrique Rodriguez. I have the privilege of being the chair of a Green Endoscopy working group. And today with me I have Mathieu Pioche from France, Oliver Wherlock from MyClimate, and Joao Neves from Portugal. ESG is very concerned, and we are trying to do things better. We are taking several actions during ESG days to reduce our environmental impact. And to that end, we are collaborating with MyClimate, which is a company with a lot of experience in reducing the environmental impact of congresses and conferences. Thank you, Oliver, for being today with us. Could you tell us a bit more about your company? What you do, what are we collaborating?
Sure. So thanks, first of all, for having us. It's a great pleasure to be here and, basically tell you a little bit about what we do at MyClimate. We're actually founded by a Swiss foundation in Zurich and operate as a non-profit organization across Europe. And it's really our mission to shape the future of this planet together with companies. So we're really supporting companies in all types of industries on reducing their carbon footprint, creating strategies to reduce the footprint and their impact on the environment, but also taking an educational turn to things and working together with schools and this way hoping to impact, have a positive impact on the planet together with corporations, events such as this. And for this, we work in different fields. One of the biggest sort of topics that we work on are climate protection projects. These are global projects which aim to reduce carbon footprints across the globes, using different technologies and really benefiting local communities while we do that, and where we have a strong focus on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Here you can see a few milestones that we've reached in the past. Together with the ESGE days, we're also collecting donations towards these projects. So if you have any questions later on towards these type of projects that we're supporting, please feel free to reach out to us. Here you just have a small overview of what we actually do. So we base our work on 3 different foundations. One is our consulting services. So this is kind of our collaboration that we're working on together with the ESG days. This often begins with carbon management, so really assessing the carbon footprint of a whole company, an event such as this, or maybe even detailed products. As I mentioned, we're a non-profit organization, so any revenues that are created can really cover our costs and go back into climate protection.
Okay, one of the things that we are trying to do together is to measure the carbon footprint of this event. This has never been done in gastrointestinal endoscopy. We know that medical conferences do have an environmental impact. Could you tell us a bit more what is the extent of that environmental impact and how can we reduce it?
Of course. So, as you said, we're working together on really capturing the carbon footprint of the event. This is also where any kind of strategy to reduce or avoid carbon emissions really starts, is to just get an idea on what the emissions created. The biggest impacts of such an event usually happen during the mobility phase, we call it. Okay. So really the travel and hospitality aspects of such an event, especially with such an international focus as the ESGE days. You have visitors coming from all over the world. So actually it's around 85 to 90% of carbon emissions happen in this part.
So they travel by plane?
By plane, and then of course you have a big part which is the venue itself. Okay. And then you have smaller levers such as the catering, the print materials, things like this. But the main really impact is created during the mobility and transportation phase.
So I understand that maybe, do you think that keeping a hybrid format can be helpful to reduce that impact? And in the venue, what can you do to do better?
Absolutely. So yeah, a hybrid format can definitely work. The less you travel, the more carbon emissions you save. Furthermore, steps can be within the venue and the event itself. As I mentioned, catering is something that now the organizers of the event have also taken into their own hands and offering meat-free options, so vegan and vegetarian caterings. The choice of venue itself, the connection to public transportation, these are all levers that can be used to reduce the environmental impact.
Okay. So I ask everyone to fill the survey that is available about how you came to ESG Days, so that we can calculate the carbon footprint. And maybe my last question, as you know, ESG is going to match the donation provided by the delegates. What are you going to do with that money? What are you thinking of? What offsetting programs are you thinking of to do with this money?
Sure. So we offer the possibility to invest in our climate protection projects. These are global projects in over the whole different continents. They focus on different technologies which are then used to benefit the local communities. So this can be solar panels. This could be biogas. Technology that we install in rural areas around the globe. Things like this, which are really beneficial not only to the local communities, but avoid emissions globally, avoid deforestations. There's like an example, for example, that still every third meal is still cooked on an open stove fire. And this not only then means that wood is chopped down in the forest to get the wood, but it also creates obviously carbon fumes within small homes, which can all be avoided by just efficient cook stoves. So these are things that we install across the globe with our project partners, and then create a local impact.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now I go with Mathieu. You maybe think that Mathieu can only do ESD, but no, he can do many more things. And one of the things is doing research in green endoscopy, which is something that we really need. And he's really pushing this field. And I would like to ask you, Mathieu, if anyone is listening, how we can do research in green endoscopy? What would be your message?
So thank you very much for this invitation and for this question. I really think that thanks to green endoscopy, we are discovering early phase research like they did at the beginning of medicine probably, because we are facing something with very high specialists, engineers, but it's like we discover the problem in health and in our discipline. So finally, we have different kind of research to do. First, a kind of epidemiology research to measure our impact. So finally, we don't know exactly the impact of what we are doing. So it's a kind of research, just measuring what we do. But we could go further with interventional research, with strategies to reduce and to measure the impact, or even to randomize trial to compare different strategy, not only on the health problem issue or medico-economic issue, but also on the medico-ecological issue. And it's very interesting. If we want to save time, one way to do research from now is to go back to the data of the medico-economic study, because usually in this kind of studies, they measure all the devices they used, all the costs, the micro costs, and finally, thanks to this and with life cycle assessment, the assessment of the impact of the devices, we could go back to the data used for medico-economics to convert to medico-ecological situation. It will not be as good as prospective evaluation, but at least we could go fast where the impact could be very high. And an important message for me is that we need to find a subject with very high impact at the beginning to make people coming into the train. Because if you work a lot to show a 5% difference, a lot of people will say it's bullshit, we save nothing. And so it's a little difficult to choose the subject at the beginning, because at this phase, we are not trying to reduce 5%. We try to find good example to bring people into the train, I think.
Okay. No, I totally agree with you. And when you start to do research in this field, it's a new field, which is good because you can do, there's everything to discover. But on the other hand, sometimes it's very challenging. From your perspective, what challenges have you encountered during your research? And also, how can we improve our collaboration with engineers and industry in this field?
So 2 points. There are guys like you, like Joao, who already have an experience in green endoscopy and in life cycle assessment. And it's a subject where we are all winning something. I mean, if we save the planet, if we save the environment, we all win. So I don't think there will have so much competition as we can have to have the first idea about resection, the first good treatment. Here, everything wins. So it is an example. Our collaboration is very easy. I mean, everybody wants to bring his help, and everybody works together. So you can find help from people who already know a little the subject, you too, but also people who are dedicated with a PhD in environmental research, like Robin in England, or example in Portugal. There is one also in Italy, in Milano. So you have people who are getting trained in environmental endoscopy who have this knowledge. And I think at this time, we can ask them to help for the methodology. And your green committee of ESG is here also to advise and help this project to go into reality.
I agree, because I felt, for example, in my hospital, we don't have like an engineer team, but I found a good relationship, for example, with you or with other people that can help you in this, with this barrier that sometimes people may feel that, okay, I don't have access to engineers, I don't have access with people with expertise, but maybe by asking other colleagues, we certainly can do better. So just one more question about research. What would be, in your opinion, the first priority in the research field? What should be the next big project on green endoscopy? I know that maybe it's a difficult question, but
at least if we want to reduce considerably our impact from now, we should think about transport, because all the studies are coming with the fact that between 60 and 80% of the impact of care is the fact that the patient come by fuel car, mostly, to the hospital. So our aim should be to reduce the number of times the patient come to the hospital, and when he comes, how he comes to reduce the impact of this transportation. Because finally, the care itself, the devices are important in this impact, but very low compared to our transportation. Like for the meeting, finally,
like
transporting people is the most impactant.
Yeah,
but about engineers, you're right. We should find people who are already experts in this field, because we will save a lot of time instead of trying to be expert in this field already.
I think we don't have to try to be engineers.
I agree.
Okay. And just one, we only have time for one more question for you, Mathieu. What are you doing at a national level, or what can you tell us about what's happening in France?
The first point was to create a green committee in the country. And this committee is linked to the committee of nurses, because they are very important in green endoscopy. I really think that it's a team question, and you create a team thanks to ecology also, because everybody has an idea. Even if you are a nurse, even if you are somebody who is a technician about radiology, everybody who is interested in the subject can bring something and change something. So I really think that combining this committee with nurses like you do and physicians are very important. Whatever the scale, your unit, your hospital, your country, whatever, but if you bring a team, you will have a lot of ideas and a lot of actions. And after, you should bring a lot of education about the subject, because finally, we don't know very well the different impacts we could bring. For example, the impact we could have on water. Our patients are prepared with products that directly are flushed to the toilets, but we don't know what becomes the peg, for example, in the toilet. So all these things we should learn how to measure and how to change it. And that's you do, green tips, education, this kind of congress with dedicated sessions. We should bring it because it's passionating and because also we begin with nothing about our knowledge.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mathieu. Now I'm going with Joao Neves. Joao is a member of the Green Endoscopy Working Group. He's very talented and motivated in this field, and you have done a very important research. He implanted an educational program in his department to assess the impact in that department. So can you tell us a little bit more about this experiment of research? What was the impact? How you did it?
First of all, thank you for the invitation and thank you for the question. In fact, it was quite difficult at the beginning, but as Mathieu said, I think we have to go back to the basics. And once you go back to the basics, you start questioning yourself, why are you doing this? Why are you doing so much colonoscopies, so many gastroscopies? And my line of thought with that was, if we're doing so much, we're also producing as much as well in terms of waste. And I saw that in my unit, people were quite motivated to change their mindset, but they didn't know how to do it. And I think the most important thing is to raise awareness within your unit and gather not only physicians, but also nurses and auxiliary staff on this, and nominate someone who's responsible for leading this innovation within your unit. And that's what I did, actually. I was the green champion of my unit. I gathered some information, quite few information that we had back in the day, and I've tried to implement changes within my unit. I've gathered nurses, auxiliary staff, and physicians. I made a first part as an observational audit without anyone knowing what I was doing. And then I ran an intervention where I've raised awareness of what we could do in our unit in terms of waste processing and waste handling in order for things to get better and to reduce the carbon footprint associated to waste. And after giving this education to our staff, as you said, Mathieu, education activities are quite important, and once people get the notion of the data you're presenting to them and are quite fond of the idea of changing their way of doing things, like they do in their households, for example, collecting waste and separating them is something we do in our daily routine. Why not do it in our endoscopy unit? And basically, after that raising awareness campaign, we've done a 4-week post-interventional assessment where we could see that the carbon footprint related to waste significantly reduced thanks to this change of mindset. People reduced regulated medical waste production.
So it worked?
It worked completely, yeah. Okay.
And did you find difficult to keep motivated, to keep the people motivated, or you did not assess the long-term results of that intervention?
Yeah, in the beginning.
Because motivation sometimes is very high at the beginning, and it goes down. So
I mean, we've done 2 assessments, one short one and a long-term one, and what I saw was basically that once people get a notion of the data, they keep motivated for at least a medium-long period of time. Of course, there are some things that you always need to correct because sometimes people forget about it. But in terms of overall motivation, I would say that people continue to be pretty much motivated.
Okay. So if you have to say just 3 things to do in the endoscopy unit to effectively reduce the impact, what would you say?
I would say think simple. Don't try to think that in a complex way because the most beneficial changes come from simple things. I would say that people need to be quite perseverant in their line of thought. Like, if you're going to implement something, do not leave it in the middle. Go until the end. And the last one, I would say that you always need to keep pushing things in your unit because once you're done implementing a project, you have to carry on with another one because otherwise people will forget about the idea of green endoscopy.
Okay, thank you very much, Joao. So, Oliver, thank you very much. We will try to find out what's the carbon footprint of this event and to find a very good offsetting program with those donations. Mathieu, hopefully that after this meeting, more people will engage in green research. Everyone is welcome in our working group. And Joao, thank you for telling us what to do in your unit. And I totally agree that reducing and thinking simple can make a difference. Thank you very much, and see you around.
Thank you.